If you constantly find yourself seeking validation from other people, being a people pleaser, not able to say no to people, this video is for you, okay? So what we have to understand about validation-seeking behaviors is that we actually have low self-esteem within ourselves, and that's causing us to reach out to other people for that validation. So what is low self-esteem? Well, low self-esteem is really your sense of self-value and self-worth within yourself. It's different from self-confidence, where self-confidence is more about the trust and belief that you have in yourself. Self-confidence is this relationship you have with who you are and what your capabilities are and how you can move through the world moving forward. Whereas self-esteem is really this sense of value, worth, right? It's the sense of self-love for who you are as you are. And so what happens is when we have low self-esteem, we have to recognize that there's actually nothing wrong with us. And it's not that we're not good enough. It's just that we feel like we're not good enough because for some reason, throughout our early childhood and throughout maybe even grade school and teenage years, we were taught that we were not okay just as we are. We were taught that we were not good enough through the behaviors of how other people were interacting with us and how we were perceiving that at those times. And this is really trauma that has caused us to have certain beliefs about ourselves and the world that are creating this like clouded filter where we feel like we're not good enough, where we don't actually believe that we have this value and self-love for ourselves. When we have low self-esteem, we need to feel good, right? Or we need to feel like we're not going to be rejected. We inherently as humans, it's very innate that we want to feel like we are okay as we are, like we're safe, right? And so if we don't feel self-love for ourselves, if we don't feel like we have inherent value, we don't feel safe. And so what we're going to do is we're going to seek out validation from others, for other people to give us the esteem that we don't have ourselves, so that we feel like we're safe, like we're okay, like we're lovable, like we're worthy. Because when that happens, then we feel this sense of safety in the world. But what happens when we don't have this low self-esteem, we're constantly validation seeking, is when we don't get validated, we don't feel safe. And life starts to unravel and we start to feel really unaligned and we start to feel really negative. And so looping back to where this comes from, right? So this came from some sort of trauma when we were younger. So a lot of people think of trauma and they think like PTSD, like it had to be like, some sort of crazy childhood experience. Well, it could be a sense of abandonment, right? And this could be a parent left when you were younger. This could be your parents were working all the time trying to pay the bills, and it felt like from as your perception, that you were not loved because they were always out working, but it doesn't mean that that was necessarily the case, right? And so this could also be overly critical parents or overly critical teachers, where it's like you have to get this grade or you're not good enough, right? Then that creates these beliefs in ourselves that we aren't if we don't get that, right? Or it could be you just being praised for always being the good kid. You're always the nice kid, always the sweetheart, right? You always did right. You never rocked the boat, and that's when you were praised. And so you learned that when you didn't rock the boat, when you didn't cause conflict, that's when you were lovable. That's where your value came from. And so the thing we have to recognize is we're human beings. We're not perfect. We're supposed to rock the boat a little bit. We're supposed to cause a little bit trouble, right? And be a little bit rowdy. Not everyone's going to agree with us because we are unique in ourselves. But if we're not okay with expressing that part of us, we're always going to be seeking validation because that part of us is always going to be there, but we're afraid that if we express that part, then we're going to be rejected. And so we hide in this part, and then we need other people to tell us that we're okay for who we are. So this could look like overthinking a text that we're sending, right? Thinking about the specific words that we're going to send, because if we mess it up, we're going to be rejected. Maybe being in a conversation, being super quiet and afraid to say anything because we're afraid to say the wrong thing. And that if we say the wrong thing, we're going to feel less than other people, right? It could be saying yes to everyone and people pleasing, not being able to set boundaries because we need to be helping people, because we get validation when we help people. It could be seeking outcomes, right? It could be seeking external success and having nice clothes and having nice cars and being in relationships and getting achievements and going and running a marathon and being able to tell everyone that you ran a marathon, right? It could be all of that. Could be, I'm not saying it all necessarily is, right? You could be doing these for truly yourself, but we have to start to think about it and observe it. Those things you're doing those so that other people look at you and say, wow, that person ran a marathon. That person must have value. So now you're validated, right? They say congrats. They say great job. And now you feel better about yourself. But what happens is very shortly after, once all that kind of fades, you start to feel back less than again, like you have to go get validated again. Okay? So if you're seeking validation all the time, know that you actually are enough. And the best thing that you can start doing is learning how to validate yourself and learning how to start treating yourself as someone with value and that someone that deserves love just for being you. And this can start with creating positive affirmations for yourself. So writing down certain things that actually make you feel empowered. So you could start by writing down things that don't make you empowered, things that are limiting you, beliefs that are limiting you, beliefs that make you feel like not good, like I'm not good enough, I can't do this, I don't ever fit in, right? Write those down, get clear on those, and then rewrite them in a way that actually empowers you. I am good enough just the way I am. I'm perfectly imperfect. I'm supposed to have mistakes and failures because I'm a human, right? And so this will start to create new thoughts in our mind. And if we're consistently showing up every day and you're starting to repeat these to yourself, you're going to start to feel a little bit different. But it's not enough to just say these things, because if we say them but we don't really believe them and we're constantly like saying them with this back of the mind, like, but I don't really believe this, then we're not really going to truly get the benefit out of this. So what else can we do? We can start taking action and keeping promises that we make to ourselves. Because when we start taking action, we're showing ourselves that we're worth it. When we keep promises to ourselves, we show ourselves that we're worth showing up for every day, that we're worth going to the gym for every single day. We're telling ourselves in our subconscious mind that we are good enough because we're worth showing up for. We keep showing up for other people, right? Saying these people are worth something, so I'm going to help them, right? But what if we started doing that to ourselves? We started building up our own esteem and our own self-value, right? We have to start thinking about the behaviors that we're doing each day, right? Are we constantly eating unhealthy food? Are we constantly not exercising? Are we constantly not learning new things, right? Because we have to think about ourselves like we are experiencing life through this vessel that is a human body, right? And if we're just throwing trash food into our body and we're not moving our body and we're not giving ourselves this really important part of the human experience that is physical movement on a consistent basis, we're telling our body that it's not worth something, that, right? And so we're treating ourselves with a low value behaviors. And so if we can start to slowly work these things in, slowly make healthier choices, slowly start to move consistently, right? It's not about, okay, all of a sudden I stop eating everything that I'm eating now and I go on this crazy diet and start eating purely healthy. No, it's just little choices, small choices consistently over time will slowly start to tell yourself, I am worth this. I am worth this. I do have value, right? 5-minute walk a day, right? Choosing to have one less sweet a day, right? Little things that start to just tell you, and then you're going to start to feel it inside of you, and then these affirmations are going to create more powerful, and then these affirmations are going to become more powerful to you. So know that you are totally worthy, and that this value within you is there. It's just that you don't necessarily believe it yet. And it's really that simple. It's not easy, but it's as simple as you are worthy, you are lovable, you are supposed to be imperfect, and that's the beauty of life. And it was these experiences that you had that created these beliefs within you. And so what you can start doing as well is starting to observe these experiences and say, oh, yes, okay, it was because of that. Right? And not feel guilt or shame and not try to fight these negative feelings that you're having, but to be present with them. When you feel like you're going to cause conflict, when you feel like you're anxious and you're worried that you're going to say the wrong thing, sit with that feeling and say, oh, I feel like I'm worried about saying the wrong thing because I feel like I'm going to get rejected. But will I actually get rejected? And if these people reject me, if I say something that's wrong or weird, right? Which again, those things are not even true. There is no wrong, there's no weird. It just is what it is, right? It's just you expressing, and there's no labels that need to be put on these things. But think about it. If I actually say something and it actually comes out the way that I didn't feel like it intended, and these people take it the wrong way, what's actually going to happen? Is anything bad really going to happen? Will I still be okay just as I am inside, right? Or is it only a problem because I'm saying that it's going to be a problem. And that if these people did reject me and did laugh at me, is that actually a problem? Or is it only a problem because I've decided that it would be a problem, right? And so we start to be more objective and relaxed and self-compassionate towards ourselves. And also recognize that the more we practice this, the better we're going to get. And the more we're going to be in tune with who we are. When we have low self-esteem, we're constantly seeking validation. We haven't really practiced validating ourselves. We haven't really practiced getting out of our comfort zone because it's always been scary. But as we practice this, we're going to build the muscle of self-love, build the muscle of self-esteem, build the muscle of self-confidence, and you'll slowly start to feel it. You'll start to be this energy that starts to uplift through you that makes you feel better in your life. And you have to know that you are not any of the thoughts that you're having. You are not your body. You are not all of these negative thoughts that run through you. You are the one that is aware that you are experiencing these thoughts. Just as I am not this pen, but I can see this pen, you are not your thoughts, but you can hear your thoughts. Okay? So know that just because you're hearing negative thoughts doesn't mean that they're true. It's whether you decide as the awareness, as the one that observes those thoughts, to decide whether they're true or not. And you can always decide to say, that's not true. I'm good enough as I am. But again, this is a practice that we build through time, through starting new habits, through positive affirmations, through starting small and building new habits. We start to teach ourselves what we do have value. And that whatever Sally said to us in 5th grade that made us feel like shit is not true. And I am good enough, and you are good enough. So I hope this helps. If you are someone that seeks validation, if you're someone that's a people pleaser and has a hard time setting boundaries, I work with these types of people because I was this person once. Because I was this person. Not even just 3 years ago, I was still that person, feeling socially anxious, always seeking validation, and feeling like I was inauthentic in myself and missing out on different things in the life, always comparing myself to other people. So I work with people to help them overcome this, to help them build self-confidence, to start following through with the goals that you want for yourself, to find purpose alignment. So if that's something that you're interested in, I'll drop a link in the description below for you to explore a little bit more about how I might be able to help you. But otherwise, throw this video a like if this brought you value, and subscribe for more gold like this. Thank you all for watching. We'll see you in the next one.